Our national anthem, performed this afternoon by Peter Griffin and his dirt bike.
Hey, this is Ryan Villapoto, and listen to DMXS Radio.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to DMXS Radio. We appreciate the support all these years. Make sure you guys check out the Jet Lawrence, Fortner, RJ, Villeman pods that we have up the last several weeks. I want to thank our sponsors, RacerX, MX Sports, about to announce Ricky Carmichael's 16th annual RCSX at Daytona, which is exciting. W Wheels, OGO Concept Tours, and of course, Dunlop Tires, the best tires in the business, including the new Geomax Factory Spec tire, available now. Check them out at Ride Dunlop. And now it's time to welcome back one of my favorite people in the whole world. I'll just go ahead and admit it. We've been supporting this kid since amateurs, and it's so good to see his success all these years later. Welcome back, Jordan Smith.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on, man. I always love coming on this show.
Yeah, well, it's been a few days, and I know that this isn't, this is kind of, I guess, worn off a little bit for you, but I want to add my congratulations for your first Triumph win and sitting second in points before the break, man. This is huge.
Yeah, it was awesome to get the win, especially to go ahead and get that win before the break was really good. Hoping to go ahead and get that out of the way, check that box off, and got it done there. So yeah, it was good. Kind of put us in a good spot in the points, and can just kind of it's been a busy 4 weeks with racing and trying to take the stuff you learn from the races, and obviously, we've had some snow and stuff down here, so it was kind of hard to ride and test for a little while. So now we got a couple weeks to try and kind of work on some of the things that we were learning throughout those first 4 rounds.
Yeah, I think when Bobby bought that place, he was thinking, I'm not going to get snow in Supercross. Like, I don't have to worry about that.
Definitely not. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, even like down at MTF, I lived there for like 17 years or something, and they got like 6 inches of snow. I've never seen snow down there. It's crazy.
That's it. Well, it takes me a lot after all these years to get excited about something. I mean, the racing is whatever, but like to see the celebration, like RJ's championship, and then to see your celebration after this and seeing the whole team just there at the start finish line, or after at the podium, that's just exciting. That's like this is why you guys do this, and it was such a boost of confidence for the whole team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those guys, you got to, imagine that, they've been there from the very start. Most of those guys have, and, they built this thing from the ground up. And, I know there's hardships throughout those, 3-4 years that everyone was working on it and stuff. And, there's times when you can't get this or can't get that. And so it was cool just to kind of be able to deliver that for those guys, see how excited everyone was. And it was really cool. Probably, there's one of the definitely, I mean, every win to me has been very special, for, its own reasons, but that one was really cool.
And, it's one of those things where Triumph isn't even that old. I mean, like when they debut this, they don't expect probably, like reasonably within a first couple of years to get this. I mean, at least 2 years. I mean, you guys knocked it out in a year.
Yeah, less than a year. I mean, because they started East Coast last year. So,
that's true. That's right. Yeah,
it was pretty cool. I think it was their 13th, the 13th start in Supercross. So, pretty cool. I mean, even like I was talking to Rod. He's one of the guys here in America with Triumph, and he's like, whenever they came, he used to work for Suzuki. Back whenever Ricky was on Suzuki, and he's like, I told these guys, it's a 6-year plan to get to where you want to be, and he's like, we are exceeding that, and that was before we even won. So, it was pretty cool. Cool.
I talked to RC when he left Suzuki and did this thing with Triumph, and I'm kind of like, all right, well, he did kind of like the Villopoto, went with some money and did went from Cowwood to Yamaha, being the brand ambassador type of thing. He goes, no, we're going to win. This is, at the beginning, he's like, dude, this isn't like, I'm just not throwing my name on here for bucks, that we are going to win. I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. It's like, it's good. Yeah. You know how hard it is win against Japanese OEMs and Austrian OEMs and Supercross and motocross?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's cool. Ricky's like very involved with it. Like obviously, I lived down in Cairo and lived close to him for a long time, and like never really had too much of a relationship with him. Would see him every once in a while at the farm once I started riding at Star. But still, didn't really talk to him a whole lot. But he's been, he's someone that now I can go to if I have questions.
Yeah.
If I need advice on something, and he's kind of been there, done that, and obviously in a very good way. So it's cool to have him in our corner.
What did he say to you after the win? Whenever he got a chance to talk to you,
he's just was just told me congrats and that I rode really good, and then was just told me that I don't realize how much this means to all those guys and to the brand itself. So it's cool.
I will say this about RC. I mean, your struggles up and down over your whatever. The last couple of years, RC, like on the broadcast, him and James both have given you props for your speed and being able to be in the mix. So I'm glad that they've recognized that you're here to win and that you're here to win championships still.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's tough sometimes, and the fans and everyone is very critical of everyone, right? So, but it's something, I pride myself on, how hard I work and never giving up and stuff, and it's hard for people to see that sometimes, from the outside looking in. It can look completely different than what it's like on the inside. So. It is nice to get some props from those guys.
I will tell you this, Ricky he has gotten such composure, like the first year with Ferry and Swole on there. I mean, it was a disaster, not a disaster, but it was a very, bumpy learning year. And he never, like when he's announcing the race, like if that's like my team, I'm like, probably cussing under my breath or like I'm going to react. He's just like normal. It's like, okay, well he was very impartial. Covering. He's kind of like Tom Brady with the Raiders, in the booth. He can't really be, too one-sided or whatever. But I think RC he's earned this, and it was kind of cool to see him watching his bikes crash every weekend, and then all of a sudden, he's on the top step.
Yeah, you could hear it. I went back and watched the race. You could hear he was pretty excited in the broadcast for sure. So he was trying to keep it low key, but he was excited. So that was cool.
You kind of remind me.
I mean, it's cool because I grew up running number. I ran number 4 whenever I was a kid, right? Like for Ricky, and then everyone ran number 4. So then I was number 4J for a little while. Whenever I was really young, like Ricky, and then now I can just call him up right now and ask him a question, like that. I mean, that's pretty sweet.
That is so, it's so cool. Cause like you said, you grew up in that area, but I know you're not the kind of guy that's going to run over and jump on a celebrity and be, you're so laid back that I can understand how you and RC never kind of formed a relationship, because you're not that guy that's going to run over and be like, hey dude, I had your poster on my wall. Can we hang out?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you and Cooper are kind of the same to me, because everybody always wants to write you off, and you guys just keep showing up, doing work, and just basically proving the naysayers wrong every single time.
Yeah. I mean, Coop, he's got the grit in him. I mean, he's same way as me. Any time that you see me or Coop on the track at practice, it doesn't matter. We're giving it 100%, and you can't say that. I mean, most guys nowadays for sure, they give it 100% most of the time they're out there, but you can't say that about everyone. But I mean, that if me or Cooper on the track, we're there's no lack of effort there.
Yeah, you guys could be on the ground, but it's not for lack of effort. You guys are always going for it. And
Yep.
fans appreciate that. Do you keep receipts? I mean, like, do you keep receipts of the people that whether it's media or negative industry people? I mean, do you use that for fuel later?
Not really. I mean, I'll see something that someone says, and I'm like, I'm going to remember that, but then I never remember it. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, I just try to do my job and and prove them wrong that way. So it's good though. I mean, it's always the same thing, and it kind of comes with it. Like there's always young guys coming in and stuff that are good and riding good. I mean, look at Cole and Juju and Hayden. Like they're all riding really good, but at the same time, it's like I'm right there with them, riding just as good, and maybe better some weekends, maybe not better some weekends, but I'm right there. So it feels good.
And you were the kid. You were one of those, the young guns coming up. So you've been in both roles. But can you possibly get away from these young kids that just basically show up and have their races of their lives? It's like you can't get away from this talent that's like peaking it when they're 17 years old. Yeah, no,
you're right. I mean, every year, just every year you go through, and there's always someone coming up that's like just. It seems like, whatever you want to call it, generational talent, right? Like there's always someone that you're racing that like is going to go into the 450 and start winning in the 450 class, And so, I mean, it definitely, like you can never settle for sure. Like every year you got to be learning, getting better. And it's hard to kind of do that year after year. Like everything changes. So it's tough for sure.
Was it more special for it to be a Triple Crown because of the consistency you needed to get that that win, or would you rather just beating everybody straight up? Does that matter? I mean, that's kind of a weird question, but is a Triple Crown more sweet because it was three races, or would you prefer like just a straight up one regular race?
I don't know. I mean, I think I would maybe prefer it just as the one race to win, but I mean, it is cool to win the Triple Crown and then like to win the last moto. Like if I didn't win the last main or something, like if I went 2-3-2 or something for the win, like it wouldn't have been as cool, but to go out and win that last moto whenever I needed it, like I lined up right beside Cole and I knew that I needed to get a good start and kind of shut him and Hayden down on the inside. And I knew that if I did that, then I would have a good chance to go out and win the moto and win the overall, and to execute that whenever it mattered most, and then to go out and win the moto, and just execute it properly, exactly how I kind of had it drew up in my head. Was nice.
Do you do a Triple Crown math before every race? I mean, do you know where you stand and who you have to beat and how it plays out before the gate drops?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. I mean, this weekend was pretty simple. Obviously Hayden and I came in tied. So, it's just straight up there. And then, Cole had 2 points and I had 5. So I knew if I went out and won and I could get Hayden and Juju or, whoever else, but that it seems like those two were the most likely to kind of finish in between me and Cole, that would be, ideal. And so, he lined up in the one gate that he lined up the moto before. It was a good gate, but the one right beside it also was like a really good rut. And then everything to the right of us was not very good. So, I was able to line up in a pretty good rut right beside him. And, just kind of, you line up there and that you got to get the start, like you got to get the jump on him. But you don't want to focus on that. You still got to focus on, what you're doing, on your start and let that stuff play out,
When you didn't get collected in the Juju thing, did you feel like, man, it's finally my night? Because normally you'd be right in the middle of that, Jordan.
I'd be right in that thing. I'm like, it's. I had a good feeling, kind of all day, going into the race, and it was a fun weekend. So I had press day, so we actually flew out early Thursday. My dad was there with a couple of his golf buddies.
Oh, that's awesome.
We went and played golf on Thursday.
Man.
Played Top Golf on Friday. So it was kind of like a relaxed weekend. I just had good vibe about it. I always liked Glendale. Just the dirt's super hard, but it's kind of like what we ride here in Georgia with the red clay.
Yeah.
And so I always just enjoy Glendale, and I was liking the track and had good vibes all day. So I had a good feeling about it.
If I'm you, I'm bringing Pops to every round, and we're playing Top Golf the Friday night.
That's what I told him. We're playing golf every Thursday, and we're playing Top Golf every Friday now. So you better get ready.
Hey, what about that start straight jump?
Yeah, I didn't do it.
I know you didn't
thought
do
about
it. Yeah,
but I did not do it. That was a big jump.
So let me ask you this. In your career, it's like, I talked to Wyndham a couple of weeks ago. And I always bring up how he retired. He's like, I'm not doing that big jump. And he went back to his RV, and he's like, so as you get older, I don't know the actual time difference that made up. It was obviously a pretty good chunk, but have you ever like broken stuff out in a main that you didn't do in practice or qualifying?
Yeah, I have. I mean, this weekend in that section, so like no one did that until like the last practice, I think, is
right.
Whenever some of those 450 guys started doing it. So, the rhythm that we were doing was like 2 over 3-3, and it was really tough to get that over and catch the downside good enough to get the next 3.
Yeah.
And it was really tough for me to get it for some reason. And I was really struggling there. So I was doing the rhythm that would set you up to triple out of that, but I just didn't like really think about it or think that we could make it. And so I never did it. So I was kind of off in qualifying because of that rhythm.
Yeah.
And I was, like we were sitting there and I'm like, I just don't think that I'm going to be able to get the over 3-3 for 3 mains consistent enough to make it fast. And I'm like, we might just have to do the slower rhythm tonight. And I'm not one that's like really scared to hit jumps, but I just wasn't like jiving with that rhythm. Like I did it quite a bit. I probably did it 10 times, but like I would make it 3 times and miss it 2 times, So, so we actually decided to do a different rhythm that I hadn't really seen anyone else do. I think maybe a couple guys did, but it was like just going on off. And then I would 2 in the middle of that rhythm and then 3 out so that I missed the big
jump. Yeah. Okay.
And it actually was only like maybe maximum like 0.2 slower than the biggest rhythm. But the problem was that big rhythm, you would miss it 1 or 2 times a main, So at the end of the main, it would really equal out pretty close. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty like good about like I'll jump some pretty big stuff.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. Nobody's questioning that. But like when JT did that post race thing, and you saw all the engine case marks on top of that jump, and it's so big, it's so high speed that if you were to come up short and do that clip, you're going over the berm. I mean, it's one of those catastrophic. I mean, there's not much room to recover.
I mean, you may break an ankle or a wrist or bust a wheel out, or like that's something. If it goes wrong, like you're probably like there's a good chance your main event at minimum is going to be done. So I wasn't really willing to take that risk on Saturday night, which it worked out good for me.
It sure did. Hey, I'm glad they didn't go ahead and just give Deegan the number 1 plate before Anaheim won. I mean, it's amazing you guys are having to race these out because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's kind of crazy how fast we all go.
Yeah,
we all go pretty fast.
I thought they were just going to award it, before the Anaheim won main, and then just do the ceremony, and then you all just do some exhibition races. I thought that.
Yeah, whenever Levi pulled out, it's all vegans, huh?
Yeah. It's like nobody's there, and it is cool to see. Like even that second race, when Juju went down and you got behind Cole, he was riding the night of his life. I mean, he was super good, and you kept him honest, and that to me is a super good indicator of where you're at when, the dude that was was clearly one of the fastest of the night. You're like, okay, I've got you. Let's do this. And that kind of gave you an indicator of where you're at speed wise.
Yeah. The first moto was the one where I was kind of right behind Cole the whole moto. And I was just eating roost over those walls so bad. But I felt really good. It was like, since it was the first moto in that track, like, it had a lot of big rhythms, but I don't know. It was kind of tough to get close enough. Like where I would want to make a pass was in the whoops, but we were going inside, and then it was so tight you would like have to slow up a little bit for the guy in front of you, and then that steep jump would like give them a gap for the whoops. So I felt really good. Like just couldn't make the pass in the first one. And then the second one, Cole and Hayden got out front, and I was actually able to I was maybe like 4 or 5 seconds behind them at one point. And I actually caught up to Hayden and was kind of like right on them at the end. So, That moto like actually gave me a good bit of confidence, and even like my starts, like I have so much more confidence in my starts this year that like even in that second moto, like I really felt like I should have had the whole shot, but I missed my gear. I didn't get my foot under my shifter good enough, and I missed the gear and ran the whole start straight in second gear. I think was just bouncing off the valve. So I didn't come out. I still got a decent start, like maybe 6th or 7th in the second moto, but like should have been the whole shot, you know?
Dude, do you like the shorts, the start straights, or the like that, or do you like them, clicking gears all the way down?
I like the length of the one the other day. Like that's kind of, I would say like a medium, like not too short, but like not too long, like long enough to catch third gear, but not long enough to like
staying it long,
bouncing off the rev limiter of third gear.
Yeah, staying in there. Because, we watch Tomac, and he's known for his, the horsepower and those long starts. And so it definitely benefits one way or the other, but it all comes down to the jump. I mean, I don't care if it's short or long. It comes down to the jump, and you seem to get that dialed. Yeah.
I think really it comes down to those first, like from the time, obviously the jump and not like popping the wheel up for like double clutch, because that immediately you lose like, I don't know, half a tenth of a second or something there, like a half a bike length. But then it's like getting the power, like once you go over the gate and like over that plexiglass, and then once you hit the dirt there, like getting that power driving once you hit the dirt is like the most important part of the start.
Yeah. What do you mean about your boot? You just didn't have it angled enough to get a click up, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I just I tried to like we like to try and get our shift pretty quick on this bike, and if you get it higher in the RPMs, it's a little bit hard to get the shift. Okay, it's like you kind of will have to use the clutch a little bit to get the shift instead of doing like more of a quick shift. And I just didn't quite get my foot like placed under my shifter like properly quick enough, and it got a little high in the RPMs, and I just wasn't able to get the shift all the way down the straight. So I just ended up running it out in second gear.
Hey, this is a totally random question, but you brought it up with the boot thing. Why do you think we're having all these Achilles injuries?
I mean, I don't know. I feel, I've heard a lot of people like, oh, it's because everyone rides on the balls of their feet now. But I mean, I feel like that's
always
been a thing for quite a while now, you know, like, when's the last guy that didn't really ride on the balls of their feet, like for the most part,
1972. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I think, that would be a good question for a good doctor, but I mean,
do you guys do pros modify their boots? Some people are saying this, some pros like take stuff out or to make them more flexible.
Yeah. So whenever Alpinestars changed the boot, probably 6 years ago, something like that. They're really stiff in the front part, and they're pretty stiff whenever they're new. And some guys, it has like kind of a brace in the front, and some guys were cutting that out. I never did. I like stiff boots, so I never like modified mine at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of crazy that it seems like these. Like where people are doing it, it's like not even gnarly sections, like where
that's what's scary.
That was just like a little, like a small single over table with a triple afterwards, and it's like kind of crazy. But you even see like last year in the Super Bowl, I think it was a 49ers player was running out onto the field. And I mean, these guys train so hard, and like how many times do they start running? And like, he wasn't even running for a play. It was literally just like running out onto the field and popped his Achilles. So like, I don't really know, like from a doctor standpoint, like, like what it takes to bust an Achilles, but I don't know if it's like, overuse and then, it's just a simple thing that gets it. I don't really know. It's kind of crazy because, Alpinestars are, I would say, one of the stiffer boots on the market, like more support. Definitely more than like whenever I rode Fox boots, like I did not like the Fox boots at all, just because of like how flexible they were. And like, I want that support, So
you want them as stiff as you can, as God intended. I mean, because you're supposed to look like an idiot when you walk in them, because that's how stiff they're supposed to be. And they're that for a reason, because that kind of downforce when you're landing, you need all that support you can get to keep not just your Achilles, but your ankle, tendons, ligaments, all that stuff in check.
Yep, for sure. So,
right.
yeah, I don't know.
I know that Bobby has I don't know 27 riders or whatever, but at this point, I'm kind of glad that he's got to be pissed he let you go. That just gives me a little bit of happiness that Bobby let you walk.
I talked to him. I haven't talked to him after the win this weekend. I talked to him after the first couple rounds. He's like, "Man, son, you're riding really good. You're riding good, man. Just keep it up." And I was like, "Thanks, Bobby. Thank you."
Who would win?
Yeah, he's. Yeah, it's good.
Who would win in an MMA cage match between him and Colleen?
Him and Colleen. Nowadays, I'd say Colleen for sure, but you get maybe a couple. I don't know. Bobby's still pretty strong, boy. You'll be in there talking to him or something. He'll hit you in the chest. You're like, Bobby, I got a race tonight. Be careful.
Dude, I would put all my chips on Colleen because I know she would gouge an eye. She'd bite your nose. She would.
Oh yeah, 100%. She's got some dirty moves for sure.
Oh, but are you kidding me? She taught you guys all that stuff. I forgot. When you mentioned that you lived there for 17 years, you were homeless other than a camper for almost your entire life. And I say this because it's nowadays you have all these facilities. You guys literally, it was like Loretta's your whole year. I mean, you guys lived out of a camper your whole year, and I just have so much admiration for the old school way of getting here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's nowadays it's like even a lot of you do still have a lot of kids like living at MTF in a camper or whatever, but you also have a lot of kids like, they're renting a house and driving to MTF, and I think like, obviously for some, to each their own, right? Like some things work better for some people, but like for me, like as a kid, my grandpa bought me, like, cause I didn't have a pit bike or anything whenever we first went to MTF. And like, we didn't really have a whole lot of money. Like what the money that we had was like going back into racing. Right. Yeah. And like, we didn't really have the money for a pit bike. So, I remember clearly it was in 2008 and my grandpa was like, all right, if you win a title at Spring Nationals, I'll get you a pit bike to ride. Cause like everyone at MTF, like everyone had pit bikes. Like whenever we got done with gym, everyone's going to ride them. And so I won a title at Lake Whitney and I got a pit bike. And like, I remember like a few years later, like my grandpa being like, like I was going to get you that pit bike either way. Like, I think it's like, but just because of like the bike skill and stuff that you learn on a pit bike, like, I mean, we were just literally like eat, sleep and breathing dirt bikes, like that's, and I think that there's like, I mean, you can get burnt out or whatever, but I mean, look at the, like all of the talent, like that came out of MTF from those years,
it's amazing.
Just, like everyone that went there, like made it on a dirt bike, it's pretty cool.
Star Racing. I remember when Gibbs did their thing in North Carolina and they were different because remember that was like, everybody leaving California and that was such a cool concept. Do you think Stars, I mean, you've lived it. You've been there. You've been out of it. Now you've seen it from the inside and outside. Is that model sustainable? Do you think that this is like a longevity thing with how different they do things with how many riders they have and basically just throwing everything at the refrigerator and see what sticks? Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I don't see Bobby's checkbook, but
that's true.
I mean, it seems there's never a problem there, like whenever I was there of like, any part shortage or anything like that, like never ever like did I ever hear about like, like we don't have the parts for this guy to ride today or like this guy's on a bad engine because we don't have the parts or anything like that. So they definitely, they're not short on all that kind of stuff. It's pretty, they have plenty of stuff for us to ride and all that stuff there. With the gym being there, I mean, it's pretty. They definitely have a pretty solid setup. So, I mean, I think that it's sustainable, but I guess you never know. I think that just from my point of view, I feel like the sport in general is getting bigger. I think that we're like really over. I mean, to me, it just seems like over the past couple of years, like, they've really stepped up the game of the broadcast and all that. And like, even now, like, Race Day Live, I think is like taking a huge step this year with Adam and Justin. And, like, it just seems like a better model, like for us to like really get better sponsorship money and with the playoffs, like more money coming in there and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it's good. I think it's great for the sport what Bobby's doing with how many, like it's so funny how you have all these like fans and like they'll be like talking crap about Star signing a lot of guys, and it's like, why are you guys talking crap? Like, you guys are the same guys that talk crap about there not being enough rides. Or this or that, and it's like, dude, this guy's giving a shot to people like myself that I didn't have a factory ride, like coming off of Firepower, and Bobby gave me another opportunity. So, I don't know. I think it's awesome.
The thing to me is, like, I remember I told Weege when I first heard that you got that Star ride, I'm like, if anybody can go there and compete, I mean, you guys had a death match every day at MTF. It was the most highly competitive, cutthroat survival game. I mean, so you were built for that, riding with your competition, from day one.
Yeah, 100%. I think that that's definitely, like, it wasn't a big change for me, although, once I did like kind of get to the top of not the top of my game, but kind of like, so whenever I signed with Geico and, at first there's like A-Rod was there still with like on a Star bike.
Oh yeah.
Good. But at some point I kind of got to where, I like once kind of Joey left and whenever he went to PC and that kind of stuff, like I was kind of, pushing myself a lot at MTF. Like, I had all those guys to train with and push me for all those years. So, I think that it was good for me whenever I did get back into that. I mean, it's gnarly. It's tough, like it's easy to get burnt out on, like whenever you do have to go out there every single day and perform. But, I think it was pretty good for me to get back into that environment a little bit. And whenever I got onto the Star bike for the first time, and I hadn't really raced outdoors in 4 years at the time, and I showed up the first day to go ride, and I did the motos with the boys. They were already like a couple races in the outdoors, maybe, or 1 or 2 races in, maybe only one. And I went out there, did the 2:30 or 35-minute motos, whatever we had that day. And I think that my fastest lap time of the day was legitimately like 8 seconds off of like Jacob's time that day. And I felt like I was ripping. And I'm like, oh man, we got some work to do. But it was like 8 seconds. And like, I would say maybe like LeBlanc was like the one that was like kind of like the slowest of the group like that day. And he was still 4, 5, 6 seconds faster than me probably. And like, I'm like, man, this is embarrassing. But I slowly, like that summer, like, I mean, like I said, I hadn't rode outdoors in 4 years, so that summer I slowly, today I was, the first day I was 8 or 9 seconds off. And then the next day I was like 7 seconds off. And then, I kind of remember I kind of plateaued at like 5 seconds off, 4 or 5 seconds off. I mean, that's a lot of time per lap, and you feel like you're never going to make that up. But by the end of outdoors that year, I was like really riding good. And I was actually, I was supposed to be done, take a couple weeks off after the last outdoor, but they decided, Jacob was on Team USA for MX Nations and he had no one to ride with. So they're like, well, Jordan, you're his training partner. So I started riding and I was actually like riding, I would say just as good as Jacob, maybe like half a second a lap off for those like 2 weeks. And they're like, if anything happens to Jacob last minute, you might be in for donation.
Holy
I was
shit.
like, well, that would be crazy. But luckily nothing happened and they went and won and that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's a great story.
It was pretty cool to like just see that progression throughout that summer. It was unreal, honestly. How
you've ridden, I mean, I think about, Pro Circuit, Geico, you talk about this, but you've been on that Star bike. How much advantage do they have horsepower speed wise? Like, are you going into a disadvantage if you're not on that bike?
I think, no, not now. I think that up until, I would say last year for sure, like everyone got a lot closer last year, in particular. And then, but I think like just knowing the bike and how it felt, like in 15 to 2020, 2022, like it was probably a huge advantage then, and even like my first year, I still feel like it was an advantage, but I didn't get to race outdoors that much on it, only a few rounds. And I feel like that's where more of the advantage is. In Supercross, you can kind of get away with a little bit of a slower bike because it's a little bit more hard. Well, not necessarily a slower bike, but a bike without as much torque to it. And that's where that thing's so good. It's like whenever the track gets deep, it's just, it pulls like a freaking, I don't know. Tractor's not very fast, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's no,
no substitute for torque. I mean, that is everything when it comes to picking that bike up and throwing it. Yeah.
Yep.
So what did you shoot in Arizona when you went and played golf with your dad before the race?
I shot, I don't know. It wasn't very good. Like maybe 84, but, so the tee time got delayed an hour because there was frost on the ground that morning.
Yeah.
And, so we didn't get the tee off until 2:30 and the sunset was at 6. So that was only like 3.5 hours and it was like a full tee sheet. So we played the last 3 holes, like pretty, like
Sprinting.
The last hole was dark. It was dark. You just hit and just had to try to feel where the ball went off your club and like what direction it went. It was, I shot 41 on the front. I made a triple and a double. So I was even on the other 7 holes.
Okay.
But then
Well, that's
on the back 9, we started rushing and, I didn't play very good back 9.
Are you watching TGL, the Tiger Golf League?
I've watched a couple of them, just a little bit, not religiously. It's pretty good to watch though. I think it's fun. It's cool to kind of see a little bit of personality of those guys. But, I heard that they're having like a little bit of trouble with the simulators a little bit. And someone hit a shot yesterday and it like didn't even register.
Fleetwood. Fleetwood. It's like, okay, a rehit.
But I'm get on Twitter or X a lot. And, some of the people are saying that the simulator, like the launch monitor that they're using,
is a piece of shit.
Is not like not the highest end launch monitor that they make, which I don't understand. Like why they wouldn't have the best one there
because they sponsor
the best readings.
When they did the initial deal with Tiger, they were the sponsor, so he has to use that equipment. But I saw that same thing where the guy says that's not even in the top 5 of launch monitors.
Yeah, and I think that I think that they're using Full Swing. Is that right?
Yes, Full Swing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I saw somewhere, and I don't know. Obviously, people can post whatever they want to post, but I saw someone posted that it's not even the top of the line Full Swing launch monitor.
Oh my gosh.
It's not even Full Swing's top of the line, and maybe because they have like different. They have they need different ones for different like places that they hit from.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's because of that and whatever, but it seems like you would have the best of the best. I mean, it's on ESPN. It's professional golfers. You're trying to, actually turn it into something, and you're not going to have the most accurate reading and data whenever you know that like these. I mean, Tiger hit a shot at the one where his ball went like 40 yards over the green
into the water. Yeah,
so I know that he's not going to do that in real life,
And if he wasn't the title guy, he'd have been pissed. He's like, I can't say anything. I can't say anything. This is my deal. This is my deal.
Yeah, for sure. He's like, he's in his head. He's like, oh man, that looked terrible. That's like, just like, it's not great, but yeah.
All right, we'll give you the Dunlop 5 questions and get you out of here. I know you've got lots to do this week. You've had a busy week. I know you probably did 5 more interviews or pods this week, so thanks for catching up. But all right, Dunlop 5 questions, the best tires period. Make sure to check them out at Ride Dunlop, including their new GM. Can you imagine having a factory spec tires and amateur? That'd been pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Would have, yeah.
Man.
It would have been pretty cool.
All right, what was your first car, Jordan Smith?
My first car was a 08 Chevy Silverado.
Okay. That was probably just to get you back and forth to the track, right?
Yep, it was.
What is the fastest car you've ever owned? Have you ever got a sports car?
No, I've only had trucks. I would have to say the fastest was probably the
Raptor or something?
Well, no, I haven't had a Raptor. I mainly just had F-150s. The last year, whenever I was on Star, the Tundra that I had was pretty quick. It was like the IMAX. So it was It was a hybrid, and that thing was pretty quick. But my wife's car, we just got her a Chevy Yukon, Tahoe.
Tahoe, yeah.
And with the RST like performance package, that thing rips.
That's awesome and very safe for being. Before we get, how's being a girl dad? I told you it was going to be awesome.
It is awesome, man. I'm so glad I'm a girl dad. Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, do you talk to guys on the starting line?
No, not very often.
Does anybody ever strike up a conversation with you? It's awkward, right? I always say it's like a urinal. You sit there, you don't ever talk to the dude next to you in the urinal. So a starting line.
Yeah, not really. Most people, I think, stay to themselves once we get to the gate. Sometimes in the tunnel, I'll talk to some guys in the tunnel for sure.
Yeah. But what is the first autograph you remember getting yourself, like handing and saying, getting it back?
I think Ricky Carmichael at Atlanta Supercross. I think you had to get a ticket to get in line. You know, like you had to. They only gave away so many. I don't know what year it would have been, but it was Atlanta Supercross.
Oh, how and now you're right. That is full circle shit right there. What is you're very disciplined. I know that, and you're in super good shape. But what's your cheat food when nobody's looking and you're like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and go down this road today. What's your cheat food?
I love cookie dough. Cookie dough is my like little cheat thing. I mean, as far as meals go, maybe some pizza or something, but if I can eat one thing that's not good for me, it's going to be cookie dough. Like raw cookie dough or raw cookie dough. Yeah. I mean, it's like 100 times better than whenever it's actually cooked.
Wow. So like the battered up with the eggs and the vanilla and all the chocolate chips.
Like at amateur races and stuff. That was like my little gift. Like if I won a moto or something at a national, like I got to eat cookie dough. So yeah.
Dude, that should have been your nickname growing up. Cookie dough. Yeah, I talked to RJ and his messed up stomach with his gluten and shit. His cheat is just a regular piece of pizza. Like, dude, how boring is your life when your cheat food is just like a regular piece of pizza that says a gluten-free pizza?
That is boring for sure.
I am so glad that I have no allergies and I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. So that's awesome. Well, Jordan, man, this is good. This is I'm trying to think back how far. I think when you first came out of amateurs was the first time you were on the show. So it's been a good ride. We're so glad that you're doing awesome, and it's a cool story with you and RC and Triumph and all the boys and the team, and bringing a new OEM into the sport and doing so well. This is just a great story all the way around. So enjoy your break, a couple weeks off, and we will of course continue to be your Atlanta fan club here, president right here.
All right. Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And I do miss our golf fantasy league that we've just died and went away. It just
really fell off the earth, huh?
Yeah, you and I mean, I know you always do so we'll bring it back for the Masters. We'll do like a $10 in with everybody for the Masters, and we'll just do majors this year because I do miss it when I'm like, I was so much more into golf when I was looking at all the stats of dudes that barely make cuts. So it's like, it kind of made me maybe appreciate the sport more. So we'll get that swinging for Augusta. All right. Thanks, Jordan. Talk to you soon, brother.
All right. Talk to you later.
Peace.
Bye.
All right, Jordan Smith, Triumph's first win overall in America. How cool is that? So I mentioned earlier that the Ricky Carmichael his Supercross RCSX in Daytona 16th year. That has flown by. We have announced it every year, even the first couple of years when it was a one-day race and a one-day school. So with Jeannie Carmichael and everybody down there, but now it's just a huge premier Supercross event for amateur racing. Very cool. Almost everybody that you see racing right now on that podium came through and got a trophy or on the box or raced Ricky Carmichael Supercross down there. So MX Sports puts together an amazing event as always. Thank Racer X for being with us from the beginning as well. W Wheels, Ojo Concept Tours, and of course Dunlop Tires. So guys, thank you for tuning in to DMXS. So check out those other pods. I know we don't do them very often, but hopefully that they the ones we do are worth the listen. So DMXS, peace.
This is Justin Brayton, David Iser, and Kevin Keller, a bunch of clowns. You can go ahead and turn your radio off now.
You listen to us because we are motorcycle guys. You might even call us gurus. We are awesome.
I've been called a lot worse than that, Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, we're the guys. We know everything. I know everything about you. I know everything about movies. I know everything about the space shuttle launches and the crashes. Everything.
And because you turn to us for motorcycle knowledge, we only tell you about what's the best, Kevin, because our spotless reputation that we've built for 16 years is on the line. That's why.
Yeah, and I would not risk my crappy reputation on just anybody. That's why we are telling you about Dunlop tires. It's what we have on our bikes. I have a fleet of motorcycles, and they all have fresh, crispy Dunlops on them. If the pros have them, you know us amateurs are going to have them. They're good enough for them. They got to think they're good enough for us dorks.
Too good for Dunlops. You're a tire snob. We want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, good luck with that. But not just the pros use them. Everyday riders agree, and they have the testing to back it up. You can't beat the quality of Dunlop motorcycle tires.
Let's wrap this bad boy up, Kevin. Whether you're on the dirt, the road, or the track, you can depend on Dunlop. To learn more about their products, visit DunlopMotorcycleTires.com or your local pro dealer. The amateur guys are working their way up. Go to a Dunlop pro dealer. Check them out. We love them. You will too.
Get ready, America, because WUSA is your #1 source for quality wheel sets in America. WUSA offers all the top brands that you and the world's best racers know and trust, like Reed, Dungey, Millsaps, Tickle, Sealy, Short, and more. All rely and trust WUSA, because all our wheels are built right in our shop in Orange, California. And if you want it custom made for your bike, like the world's best freestyle riders, Renner, Deegan, Adams, Madison, Mason, Sherwood, and others, you can choose different spoke and nipple colors for a completely custom look that'll dazzle you. Off-road riding, WUSA can build you wheels for the absolute toughest of conditions. And W also offers DID and Excel rims, along with OEM replacement spoke and nipple kits for your stock hubs. Need brakes? W offers the industry's best oversized and standard brake kits from Galfer and Brembo. Just see your local dealer or visit us at WUSA.com. Hey, you can also download the most current W catalog from the iTunes App Store. WUSA, DUBYA USA. It doesn't get any better than us.